Hey guys, so this will be the business card demo video. So we would need to start by downloading the business card demo files in Brightspace. And that should go into the downloads folder. So let's go ahead and open InDesign. If you haven't opened InDesign before, you may have to go into Finder Applications and find InDesign wherever your applications are at. So if you have a Windows machine, you need to go into your applications. And, I actually on a Mac, you have to double click here or click here and then actually go one deep, double click to launch Adobe InDesign 2023. It's kind of pink and the icon says ID on it for InDesign. I'm just going to push cancel there, but you can also control click on this or right click on a Windows and keep in dock so that you don't have to go into the applications folder every time to find InDesign to launch it. So now it's just going to be in my dock indefinitely. So let's go to InDesign. Before we do anything, let's go to the InDesign in the top menu. If you're on a Windows machine, you'll need to go to Edit. But if you have a Mac, you need to go to Edit, InDesign Preferences, Units, and Increments. Now, if you're on a Windows, you need to go to Edit Preferences, Units, and Increments to get here. And then the area that we need to change is the ruler units. We need to do the horizontal and the vertical. Yours will be on pica, or picas, or picas. I'm not quite sure how to say that, but we need to change this to inches because we're in the US and we use inches. And if you fix that, that will be a great first step. You will need to do this before you open anything in InDesign, and it will stick from there on out. And let's next go to Window, Workspace, Essentials Classic. And we also want to make sure that the Properties panel is open. Let's go ahead and just make the tool panel wider so that yours matches mine. And let's go to Window, Properties, and just make sure that the Properties panel is open so that we have the same workspace so that it's easier to follow along. You can actually open up that Properties panel if you wish. So we don't have anything open yet. We just kind of made those as, we just changed the units and increments horizontal and vertical to inches, and we changed our workspace to Essentials Classic and made sure to open the Properties panel under Window. So that's what we've done so far. Let's actually set our document up now, our business card. So let's go to File, New, Document. And we can actually go under Print up here, and we can actually expand this View All Presets, and there is a business card, US business card. This is the standard size, 3.5 inches wide. If this isn't on inches, just go ahead and put it on inches. The height should be 2 inches. Orientation should be landscape. Number of pages, we need to change this to 2, because the first page will be the front design, and then the second page will be the back design of the card. So the card will have a front and a back. And then facing pages checkbox here, let's uncheck that. And the only other thing we need to open up is the slug and bleed, or bleed and slug area with this little arrow. And under bleed, we just need to click on top one time. And this should be linked so that when we click just on this one area, it'll put 0.125 in the top, bottom, left, and right underneath bleed. The slug do not change. Margins, you don't need to change these. So leave the margins the default. The only thing you need to add is a bleed of 0.125. So go ahead and push create. And we have a document here. Once it actually works, getting the spinning wheel of death. Might take a little bit for it to figure it out. Okay, so here's our document. Yours might look more like this potentially. We can command minus, command plus, or control on a Windows, control minus or plus. You can use the zoom tool as well. But I just want to kind of show you around a little bit. So our document, this is the actual size. This white area is the actual size of our business card. If we push W in InDesign, we can toggle back and forth between 2 different viewing modes. And you can also do it over here. So you can look at the preview mode, which will show you a good indication of what your design will look like when printed. Or you can also look at normal mode, which shows you the bleed lines, actually where your margins are set to. This line here has no special significance. You can completely ignore it. This is the margin line, but it doesn't matter. You don't have to align things to it. You don't have to do anything with this bright pink line. The red line, though, is the bleed line, and so any images or background colors that you want to print to the edge of your business card, which is the white area here, you need to extend the bleed, the image or the background color all the way or past the bleed line in order for it to print correctly. And the only way to see the bleed is to push W so that you can see it. You can toggle that on and off with W. I usually go back and forth kind of between the two just to check my document. Properties panel, you've been familiar with the properties panel and some of the other programs. We use this a lot. It's our best friend, basically. There is a layers area. There's a pages panel. So there are two pages on this document. So we're on page 1, it's highlighted. If we want to go to page 2, just double click, we'll go to page 2. They look exactly the same because there's nothing on them, so you can't really tell other than the highlighted area does prove what page we're on, and this will change down here. So this says 2 on it, that means we're on page 2. This means we're on page 1. So that's the pages. The links panel, we'll go over that later. We have the stroke, which you can also find in properties. Color, swatches panel, properties panel. These are the tools, obviously, much like in the other programs that we've used. The main tool we'll use right away is definitely the black arrow tool, the selection tool. We can go over some of these other tools later on in the tutorial. I'm not going to get too far into it right away. Let's go ahead and let's do a file save as. And make sure that you save this in your documents, in your graphic design 231 folder, class folder, inside a new folder. Let's name that. This is going to be the business card demo. So I'm going to create a folder, business card demo. Inside of this, I'm going to name this Mary Business Card Demo. Obviously, you could swap out your name there. No spaces in file names. You can have spaces in folder names, but not file names. Format, InDesign 2023 document. Push save. And as you can see, the name shows up here, much like in the other programs. It's almost like an internet browser tab. We can have multiple documents open, but we only have one open right now. So let's go ahead, and if you haven't already downloaded the business card demo zip file from Brightspace, go ahead and do that. Let's double click on that to open it up, and we can go in here and we can see there's a template file, there's a couple JPEGs, there's a PNG, there's a PDF file, but we want to bring actually in a template to InDesign. So within InDesign, let's do a file place. This is how we bring files in. Let's navigate to our downloads. I'm going to have to put this on list view by date modified. Okay, and then let's go into the demo files that we downloaded, and let's go to the 3.5 by 2 inch business card template.pdf file. So we want to open that up. Just click it in at full size. So just click one time. And let's push W so we can see our bleed line, and we need to line up that gray line with the red line. And then the blue line represents the trim. As you can see, it does say it right here. So the bleed is the kind of the gray. It should match up with our red bleed line that goes around our document. The trim is the blue, so it should match up with the actual size of the business card. And then the pink line here in this template is the safe area. So this is the safe area. Anything within it is the safe zone. If you put any text outside of the safe zone, then the printer will tell you to fix that and resend. Or any important images too close to the edge of your business card design, the printer is going to tell you you're going to have to fix that. So we placed the template into here. You know, if we do a Command C or Control C on a Windows, and let's go to page 2, we can actually go to the next page down here. You can also go to the Pages panel if you wish. A lot of times I use the Pages panel. Double click, And then let's do an edit paste in place, and it'll paste it in place for us so we don't have to readjust. And let's go to the layers panel and let's lock this layer down. Both of these templates are in it. Let's name this template. So go ahead and name that layer 1 template and lock it down. You can lock it down by clicking the little space by the eyeball. And you can turn off this layer really easily if you want to see your design without the template on top. Just push on the eyeball if you need to. And let's go to the Create New Layer button here down at the bottom right of the layer panel. And let's just click another layer. Let's double click on the layer name. Sometimes this might pop up. The layer color is red, that's fine. Let's name it design. Push OK. So we're going to make sure we're highlighting the design layer, make sure it's unlocked so that we can put our design on top of the template layer. And if we need to, we can always turn our template off later, which is always probably a good idea. But now you can close up that layer panel. Okay, just ignore that. So next up, we're going to actually bring in an image. And it's very similar to how we've done it in Illustrator, InDesign, or Illustrator or Photoshop, excuse me. But we actually need to go over here into the Tools panel and find the Rectangle Frame tool. It's about the 6th one down from the black arrow tool. Let's click on that. And let's push W on our keyboard so that we can see where our bleed line is. And let's actually create a frame using the frame tool that is the size or bigger. We could make it bigger. Although I would suggest, you can always change the size later. If you let up, you can use the selection tool to grab the little white areas to size it down. And actually sizing this to the size of our lead line is going to be the ideal situation. Let's push W again just to get rid of the confusing view that we were just in, because the template with the bleed line and all those things, it starts to look very confusing. So let's just go ahead and push W. And then let's do a file place with the frame selected. So we need to have that frame selected. File place. Let's go into the business card demo file that we downloaded from Brightspace. And let's go to the Bob Dylan portrait.jpg file. So push open and it'll bring it into that frame that we created. So the JPEG file is inside the frame and it's too big for the frame that we made. But if we go into the properties panel over here and extend that, there's actually a frame fitting area here. And we can click on these different options. So fill frame proportionally, fill content. You can try an experiment. Sometimes some of these will stretch the image, which I suggest not doing. I actually like to use AutoFit a lot, and that works pretty well for this particular image. So that actually extends, as you can see, all the way to the bleed line, and that will ensure that this image is printing all the way to the edge of our trimmed and printed physical business card that we end up getting. So I'm going to show you next how to move things properly in InDesign. I'm going to push W on my keyboard. Don't grab things in the middle, because if you grab them in the middle, you'll get that little round thing, little round icon, and you'll get a hand. And if you drag, that image will drag outside of the frame that you just made. So you can actually see the actual size of the JPEG is here in blue, but the frame is red. And I just clicked on that and dragged it out of the frame. So I'm actually dragging it out of the frame that we made. I'm going to push Command Z a couple times just to bring it back. When you go to move an image in InDesign, make sure that you don't get that hand. Make sure you move it kind of off to the side, away from this area. So if I move it from here, I can move that whole chunk without changing the position of the JPEG within the frame, if that makes any sense. And I think that really confuses a lot of students, so I really wanted to go over that thoroughly with you guys on how to move images around. And also don't use the white arrow tool to move images around, because they'll always drag images outside of the frame that you created for them. So InDesign has it a little bit different with the images. There is a frame, and then things are placed within the frame. So files like such as JPEG or PNG files are placed within the frame. So we need to move them with the black arrow tool, not getting the hand. And so I'm going to have to finish this up in the next video.